Believe it or not, I didn't always want a Doberman. In fact, I was a hop and skip away from getting a boxer. That's right, this YouTube channel was almost Boxer Planet, but in the end, the Dobermans won me over, and this is why. No, that's not happening. That's much better. Usually on this channel, I talk about caring for your Doberman and raising your Doberman, but today is my personal story on why in the world I decided to get a Doberman Pinscher. You see, when I was younger, my sister, she had this boxer named Dukes, and I remember watching Dukes for my sister a couple times when she was out of town, and I was so thoroughly impressed with how smart that dog was. I mean, he almost seemed to think he was a human, and I realized I wanted a smart dog like that too. And well, eventually I grew up, I moved out of my parents' house, and I bought my very first home, which had a big backyard. Well, big enough for a dog anyway. And of course, first thing on my mind was I gotta get a boxer like that. Yep, it almost happened. Okay, wait, at this point, I was older and impulse alone wasn't gonna drive me, so I started doing as much research as I could possibly do about all the large breeds out there that I could think of. You know, I was looking into Rottweilers and German Shepherds, Great Danes, Mastiffs, and on and on and on and on. One day in the midst of all this, I found myself driving through this one particular neighborhood with just these big, gorgeous houses. And there was this one house in particular that I remember that I drove by. And as I was driving through, and it was a residential area, so I was driving slowly, but this big, gorgeous Doberman came out. And he came like right up to the edge of his property, right up to the line, almost like he knew where the limit was of his property. And he sat there watching me stoically as I drove by, just tracking my car with his head as I went by. And this was a gorgeous, incredibly impressive looking dog. And I remember hearing a really quiet growl coming from him, almost like, you know, just keep on moving along. And that image of this beautiful, gorgeous Doberman stuck in my head, this Doberman that knew where his property was, that was so faithful to his owners, just stuck in my head, and I rushed home and I just immediately started researching the Doberman breed. And to my surprise, guys, I found out that the Doberman was an extremely intelligent dog and one of the world's most trainable dogs out there. And they also grew out of that kind of hyper distracted puppy stage fairly early, at least compared to a lot of breeds out there, and moved into this phase of being pretty stoic and really focused on their owners. And also they had that short coat, which I really liked about the boxers, because generally a short coat means less maintenance. And I just was liking everything I was reading, but there were still a few other categories that I wanted to make sure the Doberman lived up to. So first of all, I want to make sure that whatever dog I got was a good protection dog. Now, obviously the Doberman is an amazing protection dog because that was what they were originally bred for in the beginning. And at the time, my now wife, but then girlfriend who's living with me, she would be home all night long while I was out working the graveyard shift. So it was important to me to feel like she was protected and safe. I also wanted an adaptable family dog. You know, I knew I wanted a family down the road. I wanted to have little kids. So the dog had to be adaptable to a changing home environment and good with kids too. So that was all incredibly important to me. And I learned through my research that a really well socialized Doberman absolutely checks that box as well. I also wanted to get a really intelligent dog. That's what attracted to me, after all, to my sister's dog, Dukes, the boxer. And I knew I wanted an intelligent dog, but I also wanted a trainable dog so that they could use that intelligence for good and not just for getting into trouble, right? So I was so pleased to learn about how highly intelligent, in fact, of the top 5 dog breeds in terms of intelligence in the world, that the Doberman was. And not only that, they excel at so many different areas as a working dog because of that intelligence. Search and rescue, scenting, tracking, that kind of thing. And they excel at all these things because of their high intelligence and being able to apply it and their trainability. So honestly, at this point, I was sold on the Doberman. So I started looking, and eventually I did find a litter of Doberman puppies that was only about 45 minutes from my house, and I went out to visit this group with my girlfriend, and they were the most gorgeous puppies, and I did a bunch of puppy tests on them, and I found this one Doberman pup in particular that was just perfect for us. He was right on the scale, right between dominant and timid, right in the dead center. Very great balance between the two of those. And not only that, but when he was in the gaggle of all his brothers and sisters and I would call out to the whole group, he was always the first one out to us, which told me that he was an incredibly human-focused and would probably be a very highly owner-focused dog in the future. Not a bad trait to have at all. We ended up naming that puppy Cooper, and Cooper was just an amazing dog who just easily won our hearts over, let me tell you. And he was a huge part of our lives, all the way from our engagement to our wedding, and he even helped with a baby announcement for our firstborn. He was there with us through every step of the way as we grew our family, and he was just an amazing dog who really kicked off this passion inside of me for the Doberman breed. I started getting involved in the Doberman community, and I started just wanting to help other people own one of these amazing dogs. And I started relaying everything that I learned through my website, dobermanplanet.com, and then eventually, ultimately, through this YouTube channel. I remember feeling around that time that just everyone needed to own a dog like Cooper. And that's what pushed me so hard to start helping people online with their dogs. And, sadly, he passed away at 6 years old, which was really hard for us to take. But it was long enough with us to really leave an indelible mark on us and really kick off my passion for the Doberman breed. And I knew that I was always going to be a Doberman fan for life. Since then, guys, I had an opportunity to own many different breeds of dogs, and in my mind, it wasn't even a question. I knew I want to stick with the Doberman breed. Why? Well, I learned a lot about their trainability owning one of these dogs. It's amazing. I mean, they have this amazing ability to take a routine that you give them and transfer that over to a habit that they develop, and then transfer that over to a long-term behavior that's ingrained in them. And they do a lot of this process all on their own, which is just astonishing to me. And frankly, don't tell anybody, but it makes my job as a trainer really easy. I mean, these dogs are incredibly intelligent and they want to please you so much. You could almost just sit back in your chair throughout the day and just say, no, don't do that. Or, oh, good boy, that's good. And do that over and actually get some results. Seriously, it's crazy how much these dogs will pick up just during daily life with you. Another reason I knew I want to stick with the Doberman breed was the adaptability I had seen from them. It's really impressive. All these dogs want is to be right there with their owners all the time and like right on top of their owners. They're incredibly owner focused. So, I mean, that's a great trait to have if you need to live in a small apartment for a while. Your dog, as long as he gets the exercise that he needs, is going to be just fine because the Doberman's going to love being right there with you and right there atop you all the time. If you, say, need to go out to the snow and all you have is a really small truck and there's not a lot of room in it, doesn't matter. Your Doberman's going to make do because, hey, after all, he's right there with you. Because all these dogs want is to be right there with you every single step of the way, and they'll figure everything else out as they go. Now, who doesn't want an adaptable dog like that? And the next reason I knew I want to stick with this breed was the love and attention that's involved, and they just thrive on it. And I know that's the same for many breeds out there, but the Dobermans just seem to take it to a whole nother level, to an extreme. They love that interaction, the face-to-face communication with them. You can sit there and talk with your Doberman for hours on end. I've done it. I've talked with my dog for hours at 2 a.m. in the morning, and they just love it. They thrive on it. They won't get bored with it. And it's just amazing. And, you know, they're personal protection dogs, right, that are super owner-focused. And having them that focused on you, even at 2 a.m. for these long conversations, makes bonding with your dog just so easy to do, and it's so easy to fall in love with them. And also just the community that's built around owning a Doberman. You know, it's kind of like having a rare sports car or something like that, where, you know, you're out on the road and you see another owner of the same type of car and you wave at him or you smile or give the nod or something. It's kind of like that with the Doberman. There's not a whole lot out there. They're kind of a unique breed of dog still. And, you know, if you own one of these dogs, fully expect to be walking down the street with your dog someday, have a passerby, even on a busy road, stop and pull over and tell you what a beautiful dog you have, and then go on to tell you about how they owned a Doberman 20 years ago and what a huge impact that dog had on their life. That happens with owning a Doberman, and that doesn't happen with every breed out there, believe me. If you also love the Doberman breed, or maybe just starting to love the Doberman breed, this could be the start of your story too, what kicks off your passion. So if that's you, hit the subscribe button down below and the bell icon that comes up next to it, and then that way you'll get to see me coming up in your news feed on YouTube every now and then with a new video all about this breed, so you can continue learning about it and maybe really kick off your passion as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hit that like button down below, and thank you so much for listening to my story. I really appreciate it. This is my story of how I fell in love with the Doberman. What's your story? I know a lot of you guys have some pretty impressive stories about falling in love with this breed. Leave it down below in the comments. I'd love to hear it. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.